This is a gunfight, ground war, and NVG map rant. Now, I'm gonna be really clear just so that my comment section isn't totally toxic. I am going to say this right off the bat. I am not critiquing the style of gameplay that ground war, invasion, gunfight, or the new NVG map has. I like the new map, Black Gold. I think gunfight has its merits, even if it's not what I want from Call of Duty, and I do enjoy playing ground war and invasion occasionally. This isn't about the subjective quality and whether or not I enjoy the modes. This is all about consistency from Infinity Ward, and it's something we haven't seen in their last two titles, MW and of course now MW2. First things first, I think the reason we're not getting the quality from Infinity Ward that we saw during Infinite Warfare's lifecycle, with much more developer communication and just way faster updates and just so much more bang for our buck, for that time of Call of Duty, the Season Pass era, Infinite Warfare was firing on all cylinders, and I do think that was because there was true economic competition for Infinite Warfare. When it came to movement shooters, Halo 5 was on the scene and Titanfall 2 was on the scene, and when it came to, its big competition was Battlefield 1, which was giving people more of what they wanted, during that time. So I think Activision felt pressured to perform a little bit higher and to push their devs to perform a little bit higher and work with the community a little bit more. Now that we don't have that, we get situations like this, where Season 3 of Modern Warfare 2, I think, is a net benefit to the game that's absolutely tainted by a lack of direction. What's the one thing you have heard people say this game needs added to it ever since it's launched? Not what it needed reworked, not what it needed to be tweaked or patched or updated or nerfed or buffed. That's right, 6v6 maps. Everyone wanted 6v6 maps, and yet Season 3 comes out with one new 6v6 map that isn't night vision, one 6v6 map that is night vision, which are two different styles of play. You have to kind of tweak your weapons, your loadouts for it. It plays differently, it's a different experience. One that I'm fond of, but hear me out. We essentially have one 6v6 map that's traditional, then we got two battle maps, which feature areas from original 2009 Modern Warfare 2's 6v6 maps, which are not in this game's 6v6 map pool, most likely to promote the next Call of Duty, which the next Call of Duty will likely be a giant expansion essentially for this game's multiplayer with a lot of MW2 nostalgia, which they of course are already ramping up right now. And then we have gunfight maps, I think 3 new ones plus shipment, so 4 gunfight experiences, and this is a complete obvious lack of direction. Now hopefully for Season 3 Reloaded we get more NVG variants of maps, even if they're just existing maps, so that we at least can get an NVG playlist, which would make that feel like less of a flash in the pan once in a while idea and actually make it its own playlist and actually give it the support it needed back in MW 2019, which, if the rumors are true and we are getting essentially Modern Warfare 2 remastered in the form as an expansion to this game later this year, it gives them the window to make a playlist of NVG remixes of existing maps from the original MW2, so you have NVG Favela, NVG Skid Row, NVG High Rise, you get it. So hopefully we get that, and hopefully we get 6v6 gunfight so people can have an alternative to Shoot House and Shipment and have some more chaotic fun on cramped maps that, like I said, of course, aren't Shipment. But this isn't the point. My point isn't that they could make gunfight or NVG work better. My point is that what they need to do is focus up. For those of you that don't listen to a lot of the common consensuses being thrown around the Call of Duty community right now, a fat topic for a while has been that season passes and paid DLC packs were better than this free trickled out content. I'd rather spend $15 and split up the player base for something I, a fan, can be excited for, rather than just getting random little bits of dribbled out content that is completely unfocused and makes no sense. But it's not the amount or quality of content that I think made those DLCs so important. I think it was the focus of those DLCs that made them so good. Where DLC packs started to fall apart was when we were playing COD World War II, and instead of getting 4 multiplayer maps and a zombies map, we were getting 3 multiplayer maps and a war map and a zombies map. And not everybody was into the war mode, even if it was a sort of big deal for that game. Not everybody wanted to play it, so they felt like they were getting less content. And here's the thing. There's always going to be the guy that would rather play Champion Hill, Gunfight, Fireteam Dirty Bomb. There's always going to be the person who just wants to play that different mode, that different secondary afterthought mode, the ground wars, the invasions, the things that Call of Duty wasn't based off of and built off of, but are there nonetheless. And I think the best thing COD Vanguard did was when they saw that people weren't playing Champion Hill, they stopped updating it. And they just focused everything on 6v6 maps until they added an arms race map, which was sort of a large ground war style map where you take and destroy enemy bases. It was silly and only got one map, but in my opinion, that's how it should be. I mean, every time I go to play ground war, I don't see people playing ground war to enjoy ground war. I just see people leveling up snipers. It's like just sniper glint as far as the eye can see when you load up ground war. So I think most people are genuinely just using it to level up longer range weapons. And yeah, that makes a ton of sense. That's anecdotal, I know. That's just my opinion, is that it feels like ground war should be a secondary afterthought. It should get one map every 2 seasons, not 2 maps every season. Like if they took the dev time that it took them to make the new battle maps and the new gunfight maps, and they put it into 6v6. Instead of desperately trying to cater to anybody that might be playing the game, the ground war guy, the invasion guy, the gunfight guy, the guy that liked NVG and Modern Warfare 2019, instead of doing that, focusing up on the core multiplayer experiences, and then as the game's life cycle goes on and we go into the last 2 or next 3 seasons, maybe then you can start to get a little creative. Maybe the mid-seasons are where you should put your ground war maps. When people are kind of bored and they've been playing 6v6 and the traditional core modes a lot, then give them a new ground war map or an NVG map, or then start rolling out gunfight, as long as it also has gunfight 6v6, so that it's not a piece of content that's only going to be enjoyed by a niche few. Time to take a breath. Like it or not, Call of Duty is built on 6v6 core multiplayer combat, and if you want it to be more frantic, there should always be a 10v10 or a combat pacing option. What I hate is that a lot of what I bought when I bought Modern Warfare is tucked away in Ground War and Invasion, which of course don't get 24/7 playlists for their new maps, which is mind-blowing. It's almost like they don't think people are going to want to play those new maps enough to warrant a 24/7 playlist, so just, you know, roll the dice and see if you come up with anything. I played 7 Ground War matches and only got the new map that came out with Season 3 once, and it would just make a lot more sense if the game showered us in the core multiplayer content that people have been buying Call of Duty for since 2006. Look, there's the guy that buys Call of Duty just for zombies. There's the guy that buys it just for ground war. There's the guy that buys it for that weird game mode nobody plays. But that's their problem. I think the problem is that the core of Call of Duty needs to be strengthened before it starts to branch out into other subgenres of what COD has become. If your core isn't strong, then your core player base isn't happy. If your core player base is bored or unhappy, they're going to spend a lot more time tweeting about how much they dislike the game than spending time sitting down and grinding the game. There are a lot of things I believe Infinity Ward should do to cater to their core audience and their core fan base. But when it comes to design and artistic choices, I feel like that's a much more nuanced, messy topic. What isn't nuanced and messy as much to me, and I have a much more straightforward view on this, the dev time that's going into scattering the content into a bunch of different little corners and little pockets could be spent focusing up on that core. And that's where Modern Warfare 2 is starting to rub me the wrong way, in the same way that both Cold War and MW 2019 did. Vanguard was much more focused on delivering a variety of traditional experiences. Basically, here's a bunch of traditional multiplayer maps, they have a bunch of new gimmicks on them, here's the new combat pacing feature, have fun, Champion Hill if you're interested, but it's no big deal. And that's what Vanguard felt like. It felt like they knew what their focus had to be. A ton of core MP content. We had 12 new maps and 2 remasters at launch, and then it only got better from there, and we got a lot more variety from there. It sucks because I didn't love Vanguard's gunplay, I didn't love its movement, I didn't love its gunsmith in the same way that I like this game, but this game just doesn't have that core multiplayer content. It doesn't even have the focus on its main gimmicks in the same way that Vanguard did. So it feels a little hollow. This also extends to the aesthetic in a lot of ways, but that's a whole different video. In general, I think Modern Warfare 2 is bad at being Modern Warfare 2. It's bad at showcasing its features and gimmicks in interesting ways. It makes the game feel a little bit stale and soulless sometimes, but I do see creativity in Black Gold and in Playo's Lighthouse and in Himmelmat Expo. I do see creativity, but creativity without focus is just a lot of messy ideas scattered all over the place and a player base that has to scrounge into the corners of the game they might not like in order to get new and interesting gameplay experiences. Build up your core and then your secondary modes. Don't do everything all at once. It leaves everybody getting a lot of little stuff instead of a big chunk of meaningful content, which is why people are missing $15 DLC packs. They miss the big chunk of focused multiplayer content. It's not as if we didn't get 4 maps worth of content. We got more than $15 worth of content for Season 3 for the multiplayer. It was just scattered into a bunch of different things, so it ends up feeling small if you're into gunfight, small if you're into NVG, small if you're into 6v6, and small if you're into ground war. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it and agree with me, leave a like. And if you want to watch more stuff like this, subscribe, hit one of the videos on screen right here, and hit the bell icon. I do live stream on this channel. Thank you so much. Goodbye.